Every moment has an advancement factor. And so the journey of life, the great walk, that is our lifetime. There are many moments that we can either continue internally or continue externally. But what I want to speak about is how we can find a state, how we can approach every moment of our life with the consideration that there is an advanced outcome. Okay, to continue. Every moment has an advancement factor. The idea behind this is simply that in every moment an advanced outcome can be considered. There is something that I've spoken about in previous recordings where I've called it the advancement principle. And what the idea is of the advancement principle is that anything we're doing in life, we can consider a more advanced version of it happening. Like if somebody wants to give a talk, if somebody wants to like cook a meal, if somebody wants to build something, there can be the consideration that there is others or there's other ways of going about what one is doing that could be way more advanced. It's kind of like, in psychology, they say that here, let me bring it here. Okay, hold on, guys. I gotta do something here. Okay, we're good. This is Kubler-Ross's grief cycle. So anyways, this is, let me double check this, guys. Hold on. Okay, here, the cycle of acceptance. So let's say that at first we start off with a normal existence. Let me actually I can't bring this on the screen because this is a phone recording, but maybe I can show it to the viewers. So what you see here is that there is normal existence, okay, in the cycle of acceptance. Okay, anyways, I'll just say it. So first stage, okay, is that there's normal existence capable of objective valid reasoning, unclouded by doubt and undue emotion. Then something bad happens. There comes two. So first there's normal existence, then there's the second point, the second stage, receipt of bad news. Wow, that's bad news. Okay, I think this is, I hope this is not something, no, this is, yeah. So what I'm reading for the viewers, okay, that was an adaptation. I'm going to read for the viewers actually the 5 stages of grief. Imagine if this talk was about the 5 stages of oven grease. No, I'm joking. So it says 5 stages of grief, Kubler-Ross model. Those experiencing grief go through 5 emotions: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Okay? To be honest, I don't think this is what I was looking for. I'll go through this anyways. Pretty much the idea is that when there is a problem, the individual has to accept it. Hold on. Hold on, guys, hold on. Okay, guys, it's the Kubler-Ross thing. I just got to read this. There's no easy way. There's no other way other than this. Okay, like this is what we have. This is what I guess the general global consensus has come to online. So we come to this view. So first there's normal existence, 2 you receive bad news, 3 it's denial, 4 there is anger, right? Now this anger can turn into aggression or depression. Then we have 5, depression, and then from depression a person can go into confusion, early bargaining, and continued anger and denial, or the person can go into a bargaining stage, right? So the bargaining stage is like the person can't change their circumstance and they're like, oh man, I gotta like adjust to this now, right? And then the 7th stage is acceptance, and then you come back to normal existence. So human beings, think of it this way, that we're playing this video game. We're just walking in this video game map, and then suddenly something bad happens, right? When something bad happens, the video game character, its normal existence is in the idea of continuity. You see, human beings, regardless of what they feel, think, or do, right, really their value is how they continue through all of it. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to say that this approach, that Kubler-Ross model, these, I guess it's 2 individuals, Kubler-Ross, that they found about cycle of acceptance, this approach they have, this model to it, we can see the same model in how a species has become numb and has become in some sense ignorant of its own advanced expression. Right? So I'm saying, there's an issue. There needs to be a cycle of acceptance and really what the human destiny is in this playground of manifestation. So we start off with normal existence. I'm going to read this here. It says number 1, normal existence. I read this before, but I'm going to read it again. Capable of objective valid reasoning, unclouded by doubt and undue emotion. 2, receipt of bad news. Wow, that's bad news. 3, denial. This can't be true. This is not happening to me. We're not failing. In fact, we know what we're doing. It is you who are wrong. And then we go to the fourth stage. So that was denial, right? So normal existence, you got bad news. 2, receipt of bad news. 3, denial. 4, we go to anger. Get out of here, you so and so. Don't tell me anymore. This is nuts. I can't stand news like this. Then there's anger, right? So this anger is suddenly, it's as if the person is having a normal existence. Something bad happens. They can't accept it. They get angry. This anger now is either pointed at others, which becomes aggression, or it becomes depression, where it's pointed at yourself. Because a person can get angry at themselves, but they cannot destroy themselves, even though subconsciously it's possible. The Jungian psychology of self-sabotage is intense, but at the same time, from a religious angle, it is the accumulation of, it's the ratio of self-worship to the sense of worshiping that which is beyond you. You see, there's this one view that there is like the idea of you can worship something, you cannot worship something, but then there's this view that the idea of worship is where your attention, like an eagle, on what branch the eagle has landed. Okay, so what it means is that really the idea of worshiping anything is where your attention is. Okay, and now the attention can be on self. That becomes self-worship. The attention can be on others, right? So for example, young children don't know who they are, and why do you think they worship celebrities? Do you know? The species is in a massive game of self-worship, other worship, and world worship, but there's also beyond the world worship, right? So what I'm saying is the human species is in some sense impatient of its situation without having an accurate view on really what is the position in life. You know, to be able to manage existence is another way of saying understanding the functions of existence. The function of human beings can be the destiny of the function of human beings can be beyond nature. Okay? So anyways, the person was having a normal existence, something bad happened, then there was denial, then there came anger. Now this anger came to a crossroad. It could turn into aggression, which leads to external destruction, or it has an internal approach where it's depression. So here, I'll read it for you. If the pathway of from anger of a situation where you're in denial of, if a person goes into aggression, this is the example that's shared in this image here. I'm going to slap or fire anyone who says anything more about this. I'm going to sue my doctor because he's not doing all he can. Sorry guys, just a second. Alright, to continue, sorry guys, there was a phone call. So this is what it was saying. I'm going to slap or fire anyone who says anything more about this. I'm going to sue my doctor because he's not doing all he can to help me. You're not even qualified to say what you've said. And various other forms of ad hominem attacks, such as shooting the messenger. So if you get angry at a situation where you're in denial of, you take the path of aggression, that means you don't want to change anything. That means you want to fight to keep the past alive. But then there's depression. So depression is like coming into terms with the reality, right? So it says, the pathway of depression, oh no, it is true, but there's nothing I can do. I'm trapped. It's hopeless. Nobody could solve a problem like this. And if from depression it goes to confusion, early bargaining, and continual anger and denial, it will be something like, why did this happen to me? I didn't do anything to cause this. What are we going to do? So from depression, the person eventually, you're kind of like left in a standstill. You don't know what else to do. So then the bargaining occurs, right? So this is the sixth part of the cycle of So in bargaining, I might as well agree things are not going to change. A miracle is not going to happen. If I can do that, I can at least get on with the rest of my life. Besides, if I can get out of all this wallowing in misery and avoidance, I can think clearly again, manage the problem better, and work more effectively on possible solutions. From bargaining, we go to acceptance. Well, it could be worse. We'll just have to make the best of this. And this is starting to look like a blessing in disguise. I'm glad this happened. And then you come back to normal existence. So Kubler-Ross originally developed stages to describe the process patients with terminal illness go through as they come to terms with their own death. It was later applied to grieving friends and family as well who seem to undergo similar process. So guys, this thing that Kubler-Ross came up with, it's being applied to everything, and pretty much what it is. So the first basic form is denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. I'll actually read this for you. It's called DABDA, by the way, the acronym. So remember DABDA. Denial. The first reaction is denial. Okay, so this is another approach to the same thing. What I was reading before was a more, let's say, modified version. This is like the exact Kubler-Ross version, right? DABDA. Denial. The first reaction is denial. In this stage, individuals believe the diagnosis is somehow mistaken and cling to a false preferable reality. Some may also isolate themselves, avoiding others who may have accepted what is happening. This stage is usually a temporary defense, so long as the person has adequate time to move amongst the stages as they contemplate death. In her book, okay, sorry guys, Kubler-Ross is a single person. In her book, Kubler-Ross states that technological advancements have caused people to become fearful of violent, painful deaths. Therefore, in order to protect the psychological mind, they deny the reality of their own inevitable death. Then we go to anger. When the individual recognizes that denial cannot continue, they become frustrated, especially at proximate individuals. Certain psychological responses of a person undergoing this phase would be, why me? It's not fair. How can this happen to me? Who is to blame? Why would this happen? Some may lash out at loved ones, medical staff, and other family. In Kubler-Ross's other book, Questions and Answers on Death and Dying, she emphasizes the need for people to do their best to let those who are in this stage feel their feelings and try not to take the anger personally. And then we go to bargaining. The third stage involves the hope that the individual can avoid a cause of grief. Usually, the negotiation for an extended life is made in exchange for a reformed lifestyle. People facing less serious trauma can bargain or seek compromise. Examples include the terminally ill person who negotiates with God to attend a daughter's wedding, an attempt to bargaining for more time to live in exchange for a reformed lifestyle, or a phrase such as, if I could trade their life for mine. Then we go to depression. I'm so sad. Why bother with anything? I'm going to die soon, so what's the point? I miss my loved one. Why go on? During the fourth stage, the individual despairs at the recognition of their mortality. In this state, the individual may become silent, refuse visitors, and spend much of the time mournful and sullen. Then you go to acceptance. It's going to be okay. I can't fight it. I may as well prepare for it. In this last stage, individuals embrace mortality or inevitable future, or that of a loved one, or other tragic event. People dying may precede the survivors in this state, which typically comes with a calm, retrospective view for the individual and a stable condition of emotions. So the idea is, in Kubler-Ross's model, the idea is you don't ignore. Like, this is the issue with denial. Right now, I would say we are a species, a human species, in denial of its potential advancement. It's as if greatness is right outside of our window, but we haven't cared to pull the curtain yet. To pull the curtain of the greatness of the human species means that every leader of mankind, every authority figure, has to have a moment where they go in nature or something and they just look at this world and this planet and they're like, what, where is the value? What is the value? What is the great contribution to humanity that hasn't happened yet? If a human being on this planet has been bold enough to say that the whole species in denial is in denial, it's another way of saying, what have we not accepted yet? You know, human beings fight for different values. But we don't really know where the true value is. Like, you know, it's like the species is not realizing we are journeying. Every person you have ever seen will die at some point. Every person you have seen, there was a time they did not exist in this world. There was a time where the idea of who they are, how powerful, strong, you know, they are, is it didn't exist. There was a time where we were nothing to everything in the sense that we are everything. That means it's a very huge argument to consider that before the individual arose, what was alive in the world? Every moment has an advancement factor if you do not get anchored in, if you do not get caught by your first angle of perception, which could be denial. That means if imagine something happens, the person doesn't want to accept it, so in some sense diversion tactics. You know. What I mean that a person can continue internally or externally, it's just this idea of like how far there is a life force, there's an energy within a being to go towards a direction. So imagine a person, you know, reaches a dead end of a street. You know, they're trying to get to a location. They get to that dead end and they realize externally they have reached a stopping point. So externally you cannot go further. So when in reality it's like two gears, right? It's like different, it's like a car being able to go forward and backwards, right? The human being has an ability to live with an external value to the moment, or the human being has an ability to internalize the moment. Internally, I find that the human species has a greater freedom than the human biological framework. Our biology gives us access to move around, right? A person can do a backflip, right? But you can close your eyes, or put on virtual reality goggles and then just in some sense envision you're flying in the skies of mankind. Do you know what I'm saying? So what it is there is a part of this organism we are that has a capability to in some sense work and modify a copy pasted version of the moment. How human beings are actually functioning is that there is an internal dimension and there is an external dimension. Okay, this is so important to realize, because when the externality, that when a person can solve external problems, right, it doesn't mean they cannot shift their internal approach to the moment. You can always do that. That is why the word thinking or the word articulating exists, just to say that if you are a patient enough soul, if you have the patience of an eternal being, you will suddenly realize every moment that you have existed in, every moment that you have journeyed through, there have been infinite angles to see that moment, right? And among those different angles, right, this was something I was speaking about yesterday, right? The infinite angles to the moment, right? Out of those infinite angles, there is one outcome that is superior to the rest. For me, it's kind of like, I've experienced this in different things, in many things I do, but I could give a very solid example. It would be something like chess, okay? I was playing chess with someone, and as we were playing, the person found one move. They just saw one move in their mind, and they quickly made the move. I told the person, take that piece back. Find another good move on the board. The person looked and found another move. They made the move again. And I told them, take it back. Right? Move the piece back. Find a third great move. Right? And that's the thing. The more emotional a species becomes, the less layers of perception it is utilizing. Okay? And that's a strategy, right? A strategy is like, all right, keep everybody emotional so they don't look at anything other than their emotions, right? Believe it or not, there was a phase in human evolution when self-worship began. The whole cosmos was slow hand clapping for human beings. Like, yo, look at this organism that was like biting fucking leaves, that was like eating like, stuff without a fork. Suddenly it stood up. Suddenly it put on a suit. Suddenly it began strategizing. Suddenly the attention began moving in ways it couldn't before. And that is the great story of conscious activity on Earth. The ability to move, it went towards external limits, as if again a person doing a backflip. But if the person wants to do more, for example flying, then your inner realms are where you can access mobility beyond the limits and the laws of physics. What that means is, isn't it fascinating that even in physics there is theoretical physics, and theoretical physics is very similar to, in some sense, a consideration of reality before a certainty of physicality. That means a non-physical entity is accepting physicality, its definition, its position. But in reality, what is going on, as if there is an ideological level to the moment and there is an experiential level to the moment. In the ideological level of the moment, it is the ruling narrative. In the inner realms, it is in some sense not survival of the fittest, animal. It is the survival of the fittest story. This is why people go towards education. In the same way that, for example, a blacksmith would use a hammer to straighten a sword, or someone would or an archer would sharpen, what do you call it, the metal heads of its bows, of its what do you call it, arrows. Do you understand? There is something going on where every human being that is conscious, and let me tell you what, maybe perhaps 80% of mental illness on this planet has been because either the individual is an extremist in the outer realms or they are an extremist in the inner realms. What that means is it's a sense of a crossroad of worlds. It's as if consciousness was double-edged. Your soul is double-edged. As if it's like one soul, right, which is the sword, and then there is one edge that is the mind, the inner dimensions of mankind, and one edge that is the body, the outer dimensions of mankind. And so when a conscious entity finds themselves in a game of reality where there is more than one dimension of destiny, do you understand? The destiny of the human body could be very different than the destiny of what the activity of what the human body could project can lead. Do you understand? We are like even if you're a pure materialist, you would have this approach that, all right, I'm this biological internal projector, just like a person made a film projector. It projected externally. The way the human consciousness, the human biological organism is functioning is that it is taking the information from outside of its eyes, and then it can close its eyes and still perceive that information. And you're telling me we're a physical being here? Excuse me. The idea of ourself is not physical, yet we believe in it. The idea of time is not physical, yet we believe in it. The idea of space is not physical, yet we believe in it. The idea of the future is not physical, yet we believe in it. And so when mankind truly realizes what's going on, it is as if the symbiosis of it's like a mighty being that was so capable that it was like, okay, I have entered space, the space-time continuum. Now I will carry everything with me. Do you understand? There is one view that you're a character in a video game, and then there's another view that your eyes are a great wind, not a storm. Do you understand? But they are like a great massive wind, in some sense moving between mountains and streets and branches of trees. Do you understand? That means there is a view that reality is bigger than you. That is the outer realms, friends. And then there's a reality where you are bigger. There's a view where you are bigger than reality. You are bigger than the world. That is your inner realms. And so I am here as a human being. Do you know, sometimes, it's very funny. What makes me laugh is my own lament upon myself. I have felt sorry for myself, but it has been a beautiful, kind of moment of self-sympathy. And let me tell you why. Because I am born at a hilarious time in human history. I am born at that time in human civilization where human beings, from the natural secrets of the world that they in some sense arose, they arrived out of. We have now reached a point where it's as if civilization 1.0, the simulation of reality, has been set in motion. It means that it's no longer one world. The behavior of the human species, its mere divergence and choice to become a creature of space rather than just be limited to a creature of matter. Sometimes let me tell you what sort of anger, I don't want to say anger, but what sort of emotion I feel. It's as if there are moments in this lifetime, regardless of my belief or idea or whatever, I just feel all the unborn human beings, all the different types of DNA programs that will in some sense activate and roam the surface of this earth even after I am gone. Do you understand? It's like there is a feeling that the unborn future is watching us right now. Like, yo, we're watching you from the future. What the fuck is your species doing? Imagine that feeling. Imagine what anger would you feel. Imagine right now you're someone who's going to have like billions of kids in the future, and imagine something unfortunate based on how the design of the system is now may happen to your children, to the extensions of you. Just for a second, consider that. Right? What sort of anger? What sort of rage? It's as if the sleeping giant woke up from its nightmare. And then it saw the world, and then it saw its own strength. Let me tell you how I envision the advancement of human civilization. The vision has visited me so many times that it's as if I'm used to having tears just roll out of my eyes, and there is no emotion because my attention, it's the emotion is arising from the possibility in the future. Do you understand? Imagine you had a mind that could suddenly leap ahead of itself 100, 200, 400,000 years ahead, get a glimpse and come back, get a glimpse and come back. Do you know what I'm saying? That is the human intelligence. That's what we are. You know, the educational system, the saddest part is that it thinks it's educating people. You know, if you like, it's so easy to educate someone by putting them in a small room and being like, yo, that's the world, study the small room. Do you know? Put someone in a box and then tell them the box is the world and then sit back and laugh at how the world is blind. The educational system will have to give an apology. All the food and products that are low quality and destroying people on this planet will have to in some sense give an apology. You know, there's going to come a phase where it's going to be a massive restoration of human civilization. I don't know, I might be like an old man when this is happening, or it might suddenly be ushered in. Do you know what I'm saying? It's as if humanity began to see that in some sense, where are the next great kingdoms of evolution? Where is the next great chapter of humanity happening? And let me tell you where. If you are outside right now, look up. If you are inside a place, go outside and look up. The sky is the next chapter of humanity. And so where that anger comes, it's as if, imagine, right? There's this person, your friend, your best friend, imagine, is like an incredible violinist or an incredible talented individual. And imagine this talented individual does not engage in the talent. Imagine Beethoven was like, I don't like the piano anymore. What would Beethoven's friends do? They would be like, bro, stay in your house and play the fucking piano. Do you know what I mean? The anger comes because the potential is there, yet inactive. This is the only reason I have to honestly give the talk, to talk about the advancement of civilization. Because what we may miss out on will bring more sorrow than what we enjoyed in our false contentment that civilization is okay. Because what's the point of a lion roaring in an empty jungle? Or in an empty cage? For me, the advanced humanity will arrive. And I'm kind of like the one who's like, please enter. You know that moment where someone's like running, like two people run at the same door to go through there in a hurry. And the first one who was about to open the door opens the door and lets the other one go in first. The way I see the advancement of human civilization, the approach I'm taking, I'm saying, yo, imagine it's not a meteor that's gonna hit Earth. It's not a giant meteor that's gonna hit Earth and that could make the species go extinct. It is the challenges of balancing technology with nature. What that means is a part of me is convinced that the human biological organism is a phase. And to try to keep a species alive till the end of time. They say 99.9% of species go extinct. That's because we aren't extinct yet. You know, like sometimes thinking from an individual perspective, things become okay. The person's like, all right, if I fail, I'm like one person who failed. right? If I die, I'm just one person who died. But imagine the flame of a species, the flickering candle flame of the human species going out. Do you understand? It's one of those situations where the ultimate command is literally like there is no time for people to hold hands and sing kumbaya songs of peace. That phase of the world has gone. The world is waiting for advanced beings. The advancement of reality is a freedom beyond it. So every moment has an advancement factor. In whatever situation you're doing, if you don't react, which means you don't make a nanosecond decision, and for a second you just stare. You learn to watch the moments you're existing in. You will realize you will see way more out of the chessboard of your perception than you saw before, until you find the advancement factor. And when you find the advancement factor means what is the most advanced way to do something, when you find that, or when you find at least an advancement factor way ahead of the current, functioning factor you had, I am telling you, dear viewers, the past has passed. The present is teaching the past. The educational system of the present is teaching the past. So what does that mean? That means the future is free. The future is open. The future is accessible. The future is important, because where are we all going? You know? The greatness of our species, there was this guy who said that, what did he say? He said, if you want to be successful, you need to have high value thoughts. Now, Mr. Within is saying, yo, human species, what is the highest value thought that we can have in the outer realms? It is the advanced civilization, which means maxing out the greatness that is possible. There was a time that I realized there's different types of leadership. There is a leadership that keeps people lower than itself, right? To be able to manage them, to be able to control people. And then there is a leadership that is saying, yo, I want an army of the most advanced beings. That means, would you rather be in a world where everyone is more advanced than you, or would you rather be in a world where you are the most advanced person? I would say if you're in a world where everyone is more advanced than you, that's a blessing. Because now you can start climbing. I am waiting for the most advanced events of humanity. I am waiting for the most advanced individuals to step out of the shadows of society, to suddenly realize that to be alive means to play your part in human history. There is something way bigger than just a snapshot photo of happiness, and that was my life. You see, there is a force that even surpasses the masculine and feminine archetype. It is the advanced human. That means, think about it this way. The argument I gave in a different talk was something like, if the most advanced robot that can be made is like a robot that resembles the human being, that is alive like the human. I think the thing about consciousness is that it's trying to imprint itself. We are biologically designed to leave trails of our own existence in our reality. And there was a time where I was like, why do people have egos? Why is there a power struggle? Why is there the clash of archetypes of correctness?